Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. As you engage with anyone on an ongoing basis, you're going to come to the realization that sometimes we just don't think the same. We don't interpret life in the same way. We have different preferences or priorities or different ways of approaching various kinds of tasks and projects. And healthy individuals make room for variety. And when we run into moments where we just are in a certain kind of conflict, we can have a give and take flow of communication. Narcissists don't do that. Narcissists have such a fixed notion about how correct they are and how you just don't have the same enlightenment as them, that they bring an easily critical mindset toward you. And of course, that's going to set them up towards having lots of accusational comments in your direction. How many times have you heard the narcissist say something like, your family is just nuts and you know it, or why did you do something this way? I hate it when you do this instead of this. Here's what you need to do instead. Or you're just like your mother. Or you're lying to me right now, aren't you? Or they can accuse you of being argumentative, or they can accuse you of being irrational, or they may say the inevitable, I can't believe you did such and such. I mean, how many times have you been on the receiving end of the accusations from the narcissist implying if there's a problem here, it has to be you. We need to fix you. We need to get you in your place. Now, I want you to pause and ask, what does this tell us about that narcissistic person when they just feel such a strong need to come at you with all sorts of false accusations? They don't slow down long enough to say, hey, let's consider the facts. They just have their narrative and they push it in a very forceful kind of way. Basically, one of the things that we can say is when you're engaging with a narcissist, to them, truth is whatever suits their narrative in the moment. They're not fact-based. They're very subjective in the way that they engage with you, not objective. Likewise, the fact that they have such an attitude of entitlement, it inhibits their ability to be objective. You're not dealing with an objective kind of person. You're dealing with somebody that has a hard agenda. In addition, the more they come toward you with all of these accusations, you realize these are individuals who have a pretty short memory or selective memory about themselves. It's not like they come toward you with a perfect slate. They have flaws too, but why don't we just focus on your flaws? That's how they think, and you're not allowed to say anything in reverse about theirs. Somehow the narcissist has convinced himself or herself that it's their job to explain to you what your motivations are. It's like, well, I know you better than you know yourself. And you're thinking, no, you don't. It's like, yes, I do. And I need to set you straight and explain to you how things ought to be. And so even though these are the individuals who create and then perpetuate strain and tension, you know what they do? They make themselves to be the victim. They're the ones that's creating all the strain and difficulty, but it's like, yeah, look what you're doing to me. Go figure. And so basically, I'm hoping you can understand that when narcissists come toward you with all of their hard criticisms and false accusations, what they're doing is they're playing out their own inner chaos. They're playing out their own inner strain and struggle toward you rather than dealing with who they are from the inside out. Now, obviously, when you're on the receiving end of this kind of treatment and this kind of communication from them, it's going to have a certain impact on you. For example, how many times have you found yourself leaning back on your heels, having to defend yourself, so to speak? And you can see that there are times when you can have a sense of incredulity, like, I can't believe you're talking to me this way. What's going on with you? Or many times as you're on the receiving end of their accusations, You wind up getting caught in anger, and you get caught up in the circular arguments that go nowhere with that individual. And then at the end of it all, you just feel terrible, and the narcissist feels like they have fuel for more accusations toward you. Sometimes it creates a feeling of contempt on the inside of you. You have a sense of bitterness that can be there, and you hold grudges like, I hate it when these people just keep coming at me like this. Other times you wind up thinking, why bother? And so you go into the appeasement mode. Or other times you withdraw, not only from them, but from other people because you're so emotionally drained. I mean, when you're on the receiving end of this type of accusation, which can be a form, of course, of psychological abuse, it takes its toll on you. So, all of that having been said, let's see if we can figure out the best way to respond when the narcissist has this notion that says, there's something wrong with you and I'm the one that's going to set you straight. Now, in order to get the right kind of response toward this, you want to get your head right. You want to have a right kind of mentality. So we're just going to pause. And the first step that we're going to say in terms of you getting a right kind of reaction is, take a deep breath and remind yourself who you're dealing with. And remind yourself that this is not someone that you want to have establish your pace. These are not healthy individuals, and this is not someone that you want to take your cues from. It's so important for you to learn how to distinguish yourself in a more detached kind of way from them. So that's the mindset you begin with. And then taking it a bit further, a second step that we can take is let's just go and start with the notion that says, you don't need to continue to justify yourself or defend yourself to that narcissistic individual. Basically, it's never your explanation is never going to be good enough. The reason they have false accusations, keeping in mind, is it's part of their need to concoct an alternate reality, and they have to include a certain belief about you in a negative direction to pump themselves up. Don't defend, don't justify, don't feel like you have to explain why it's okay to be you. They have their minds already made up. A third thought, and this takes what I'm saying a little bit further, is you want to get your mind grounded in reality. And even if the reality is ugly, you want to go ahead and accept what's true. You're dealing with an irrational person. You're dealing with someone who needs you to be inferior. Notice I say they need you to be that way. They have to elevate themselves at someone else's expense. You're dealing with someone who's in full compensation mode for their own sense of incompetence. And in order to kind of check yourself on this, how many times have you heard yourself say, I can't believe that this person treats me this way? Well, let's believe it. Now, having said all of that, then I'm hoping a fourth thought that you can take is you want to determine separately from the narcissist the characteristics that you would like to be known for. And what I tell folks is write it down. Come up with a list of about 12, 15, or even more traits that you want to have predominant in your personality, whether it's patience or firmness or respect or honor or having your sense of boundaries or having a sense of self-restraint. Come up with a good list of ingredients that says, this is who I am, this is how I define myself. Then, going a bit further, you want number 5, you want to rehearse in advance some of the primary scenes where you're going to need to apply those healthy characteristics. Narcissists want to pull you into their unhealthiness, and so when they argue, you're thinking, wait a minute, is arguing on my list of preferred characteristics? No, it's not. What is? Well, how about self-restraint? How about firmness? How about self-confidence? Those would be where you would apply those characteristics in a moment like that. And so your mind is set. This person doesn't establish my pace. And then, and this is a big one, a sixth thing that you want to go toward as you try to respond properly to their accusations, commit yourself to calm confidence. And the narcissist doesn't know what to do with that. For example, when the narcissist has all of these accusations, I don't like the way you did this, or you did this wrong, and there you go again, or you're just nothing but a sore spot in my life. In calmness and in confidence, it's like, yeah, I've already come to terms with that in my mind. I know that's how you think. I think differently, and I have a pretty good view of who I am. So that's where you are. That's not where I am. And you just want to have this sense that says, I'm comfortable with who I am. And then finally, a seventh part of you establishing better responses to their accusations: move forward with your behaviors that make sense to you. You don't have to have their agreement. You don't have to have their concurrence or endorsement. If they accuse you, then let's realize that's them trying to satisfy their own neurotic and unmet needs. You're not required to participate in that. And this last step, I call it boundaries in action. I define myself, I'm living into it, and you don't get to decide that for me, and lean into what you know is wisest and best. Now, like I mentioned, when a narcissist comes at you with constant invalidation and accusation of a false nature, remind yourself you are indeed dealing with a psychologically unhealthy person. Hoping that that person is going to change is not a good strategy. What you're going to need to do is individualize your own efforts and individualize your own movement forward, knowing that they're not going to be able to join you, but you can still live inside of your sense of worth. You can still live inside of your sense of self-esteem, even as the narcissist considers you to be an idiot. It's like, okay, that's what you think. I don't think that way. I'm moving forward. And we have a term for this. I call it delicate detachment. In your detachment, you realize that you're not going to change that person, but you can change yourself. And that narcissist, even though they're desperate to have control over who you are, is not in control. They don't have the final word. Now, the narcissist has been working really hard to explain to you what's wrong about you. And in a vast majority of the cases, it's projection. It's their way of trying to put their unfinished business onto you, and you don't have to buy into that. I'm hoping you can be the kind of person that says, well, being me is quite adequate. And then when the narcissist reminds you that it's not, then I'm hoping your next thought would be, well, being me is still quite adequate. I'm going to go ahead and lean into that. They can accuse away. You can't change that. What you can do is you can fixate on your healthiness and let that become your calling card. Now, I hope that videos such as this give you some good food for thought. If you've not already hit the subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. And as you watch the videos on a cumulative basis, I'm hoping it gives you a real good foundation for how you're going to deal with situations like this. Likewise, and so please hit the subscribe button. Likewise, if you have a need for therapy, and I know many times when you're dealing with this, it would be helpful for you to have somebody who could help you unpack this. You know, I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. Online therapy has become very popular, accessible, and affordable. And so there's a link below, and they can take you to the BetterHelp people. You sign up through the link, and you get a 10% discount on that first month. Please get the assistance that you need if that's the case. Likewise, I have my therapeutic video classes, and each class, it's very extensive in the way that it's laid out. I put a lot of work into it. It would require a lot of work from you. Each one has multiple videos, like 25 or more, with written documents and guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about making good connections with people. This is me about establishing those boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite those controllers. Likewise, we have my webinars, we have our podcasts. The website has many articles on there, my books, etc. So please, we have plenty of resources, and avail yourself to all of that. Narcissists, by definition, are just going to push their agenda onto you. They're going to accuse you. Just know that's what comes with the turf, and you don't have to make them think differently. What I'm hoping is you can fix yourself from the inside out, so that when they do, not if, but when they do come at you with false accusations, there can be a sense on the inside of you that says, I'm comfortable with who I am. I know you're not, but I am. And in doing so, it allows you to pursue your directives towards steadiness. And I'm hoping the net result is going to be you finding your sense of peace.